3, 2, 1. All right. Hello, everybody. This is Oh, hit the go live button. There we go. Perfect. Okay. Hello, everybody. We are live, and I am here with Content King, Fakeweeb. How are you
Yo,
today?
what's up, guys? Yeah, I'm pretty good myself. Glad to be here on Quirkless Shinobi stream here to talk about JJK 245. And yeah, Chad, how are you guys doing today? Let us know.
Yes, let us know. Especially with the recent chapter in 245, people are pretty got some pretty strong opinions about this one. So we'll just
Mm.
get into it. I'm curious, how do you feel about Hakari being top one RCT?
Oh man, to be honest, well, okay, I'll just give a disclaimer. I actually have not been able to read the. I'd assume like full translations are out. My knowledge is just based off the spoilers, but I don't know if there's like any additional info compared to those two. But yeah, no, I don't know. That was great. Like Hakari being top one in RCT, it just really puts into the perspective that he can survive Sukuna's domain if he was put under that situation.
Yeah,
I Yep.
that's a good point. That's a good point. You see, the reinforcement of these characters is so wild that it does start to feel like the characters, as long as you have RCT, people are pretty ridiculous. And I think that's what Kusakabe was talking about, that like RCT, that is the kicker. That is the huge kicker in what's going to let you survive against Sukuna on any level. So when Higuruma at the end is like, "Do you want to die?" It's because every slash these guys take, they're not healing.
Yeah. Yeah, no, RCT for sure is like a important, huge factor to fighting Sukuna. Like, I don't know, the moment like for me, I don't know if there was a debate or not if Hikari did have the best OCT or not, but I feel like the moment he survived Kashimo's lightning trying to explode his brain, like that was the moment that we should have already knew that JP Hikari had the best healing. But like you said, it's like it's nice to get this statement from Uruume to like further double down on that notion.
It is that speed, right? He healed so fast. He also has that precision that he was able to heal his arm while attacking her and grabbing her face,
Yeah, no,
which is kind of ridiculous if you think about it. Like his whole arm grew back in the motion of his attack.
I think honestly maybe something that's even more ridiculous is so I don't know how you interpret this panel, but it's when Hakari came to like kick Uruume and Uruume like freezes her leg and then suddenly it's kind of hard to tell, but suddenly in the next panel, like his shoes come off, half his pants are torn apart. So the way I kind of saw that, and like it, if this is true, then this is like I said, very ridiculous. Is that Uruume froze his leg and it actually broke, but Hakari again, his fast regeneration, it like just instantly healed, and that's why we see like his pants being torn off, and is like and Hakari kicking Uruume with his bare foot because it's like he just regrown his leg. But I don't know if you saw it like that or
Oh,
something
I,
else.
I agree. That was a weird panel, just because of like the kind of the way she grabbed his leg, and then you see his pant leg on the ground. So it looks like
Yeah.
he must have grown it back, or he healed like the surface layer of frostbite. Either way, they got kicked in the face, and he's
Mm-hmm.
looking for his shoe after. I wonder if he's gonna fight with that. I think he found it at the end, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, no, that was funny. Like
Gotta keep the
Akari's
Jordan
fights did
safe.
just yeah, exactly. Like he just generates a different aura when he's fighting. Also like I guess in the first page too, I like the way Hakari and Uruume I don't know how you would describe this, but it's kind of like they're flying in the air. Like obviously they're just jumping across buildings, but I don't know, like this kind of reminds me a bit of Gojo versus Sukuna when, they were also just jumping from like buildings to buildings and battling it out. I feel like it's gonna look so cool when it's animated in the future.
Oh, for sure.
Um, hmm
Absolutely. And something interesting I saw was when Urame, or Urame, I'm terrible with the pronunciation. They say that they're trying to, they're cut off from Sukuna. So I wonder if they have his other curse tool, because we know he has the Trishula, or I forget what the actual translation for it was, but the Trident. I wonder if we're gonna see that as well, because it really seemed like Gege when they gave him like the little care package drop from the ice of the Kamutoke. They're trying to bring us back to the Heian era Sukuna, because really you kind of can't get it easily when these curse tools that he pretty much used all the time are 1,000 years old, and who knows where they are.
Yeah, that's a great point. Because like, I think that like the first time we see he and Era Sukuna, like in the beginning of the series, or even during the Shibuya arc, when that cover page where, like you said, it's probably called the Trishula. Like a Trident Trishula, whatever. And he's holding the Kamutoke. Like from that moment, we, I guess, expected to eventually see those weapons come into play later in the story. And obviously, with the Kamutoke, that was created from Yorozu. So, again, like we kind of expect to see his old weapons come back.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how we're going to get the Trishula, but, you make a great point. Like when Uruume says, damn it, I'm separated from Sukuna, does she somehow have also the Trident to give to Sukuna? Or,
or
is
she
that
keeping
just
that?
gone?
That's what I would
Yeah.
like an extra ice cube like floating around. Just drop it on him. It's
Yeah, like a care package.
I wonder what it would be, because in lore, that weapon is supposed to be something that, pierces through anything. It's supposed to be an unstoppable trident. And the Kamutoke, it is, it is also in lore. It's supposed to be a lightning weapon, and that stayed true. So if the Trishula stays to its lore factor, I wonder if it's going to be something, that you can't easily block, cuts the reinforcement, or something like that.
I wonder, what, as we're talking about it, I wonder if, like, Sukuna is interested in Higuruma's Executioner Sword because it probably reminds him of the Trishula. Like, I don't know exactly the lore behind it. What you said, it's like something you can't block. I mean, the Executioner Sword is pretty OP in that it's basically a one tap, one kill. I don't know, that maybe the Executioner Sword is a replacement for Sukuna's Trishula, or maybe not.
Maybe, you might be onto something, because the Trishula is supposed to be a weapon of the god of destruction. And the Executioner Sword, though the Executioner Sword looks a little less like a sword and more like, a cursed energy construct, I don't know if you could actually pass it off. Because if he could, I'd just give it to Maki, who is completely MIA still. We still have no idea where Maki is. She is just gone.
Yeah, I hope she is just getting ready or preparing for, because they for sure have a plan with her. That's a great point. I never thought about that. If you can pass the Executioner to someone, because yeah, it is a one tap, one kill when you touch it, but maybe like, is that just like if you hit it with the top of the blade, can you like still hold the handle, or is that only for Higuruma, right?
You have to be cut, as long as you were slashed with the blade. If it was like a one tap handle, it might only work on the person who is currently under the stipulation of confiscation and death penalty as well.
That makes sense. And
a lot of people I know were pissed about the confiscation of the curse tool, and I'm kind of curious what your thoughts on that were. I've talked about it a little bit.
In my spoilers video, when I kind of said like, oh damn, because this first time reading the spoilers, didn't really have too much time to think about it. I was like, damn, that's kind of smart, because we always knew cursed tools, at least special grade cursed tools, have cursed techniques. So it's kind of like a smart thing by Gege. But then after I uploaded the video, I read a lot of comments saying there's no point of that detail. It doesn't really matter anyways, because there was just no indication of a cursed tool getting confiscated before a cursed technique. But and at that point, I was like, damn, you know what? You're right. I kind of thought about it. I was like, not gonna lie, I really hate using this word, but it kind of felt like an ass pull. It kind of felt just too convenient. But then thinking about it some more, and I talked about it with some other people, I changed my mind. I don't think it's as bad as it was. I don't think it's as bad as like a lot of people think it is. But I can definitely I guess like I want to hear your opinion first, and then I can kind of, I guess, piggyback and say my opinions.
Yeah, no problem. So I don't have a problem with the actual curse tool being taken, because when we see the deadly sentencing pretty much always takes the lesser of your powers. Like, let's say, it goes first, it's your curse technique, and then it goes to your curse energy when you have no curse technique. And no curse energy, that is far more detrimental than just no curse technique.
Yeah.
And we know that from the Dagon fight that curse tools themselves have a curse technique imbued into them. So my issue is less with the fact that a curse tool was taken. I think it's more that how he got the curse tool is that, like, it just showed up. It was basically like, 2 chapters of this fight ago. And then it's just here for this one moment and gets him out of it. So that feels like, it doesn't really feel to me like they got outsmarted. It feels like Sukuna just like, oh man, I'm glad I had this tool.
Okay. Yeah, I actually thought about it a little bit differently. So you said with confiscation it takes like lesser of the two things. That's a great point. The way I guess I kind of looked at it was just was like, okay, knowing that Higuruma, he's a lawyer, his abilities, his domain, they all resemble that of a court trial, right? And they follow rules based on the Japanese legal system. So the idea behind judgment confiscating the technique of a cursed tool before the technique of a person, I don't know if this is like I'm just making this up to make it make sense, but it's probably because like that is modern law for a weapon of a criminal to be confiscated first. Like when a police officer arrests a criminal, the first thing they do is cease any potential weapons that the arrestee may have. It works in the same in a court trial, right? Because there's generally no weapons allowed in court. So I think what Gege did was kind of cross-reference where, yes, judgment was stated to confiscate curse techniques, but also because Higuruma's abilities are also based on the law, he's a lawyer, then a weapon of Jujutsu, when that's used in court, it'll confiscate the curse technique of said weapon first. I guess it makes sense for like Higuruma. I don't know, for me, like for him to realize or just factor in that outcome the moment it happened, to me it makes sense because Higuruma, like prior, right, he's never fought anyone or never confiscated anyone with a cursed tool imbued with a technique before, right, until now. So I don't know, I thought it kind of made
weird
sense.
because he did kill like 20 guys in the Culling games. You'd think like one of them would have something, but for all we know they could have been like 20 fodder that had nothing.
True. Yeah, I would say though the thing with like cursed tools is that it's only like the special grade cursed tools that have techniques imbued within them. So I mean, I guess like the 20 guys, they probably could have had cursed tools, but they might have been like grade 1.
Special grade.
Exactly.
There is also the confiscation is a supplementary punishment. The true punishment that he's getting here is the death penalty. And I did go back to read, and Higuruma says, oh, it's just a supplementary punishment. The confiscation is, you're like that's not supposed to be the main punishment. The main goal is death penalty with his technique. And usually a curse technique, while it does follow Japanese law, it also has like, it's not like a real court trial. It's a shikigami. That's kind of bending rules a bit.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure. I mean, like, I guess to piggyback off of that, like, I know before this chapter when people were guessing what was going to happen, shout out to Call Enemy Scouter. He's I respect his account a lot, but there's this one thing he tweeted where there's some rule about executions not happening on certain days in Japan, and I thought like that's like kind of extra. Like I don't think Gege is actually gonna implement that holiday or whatever into the story. So you're right. Yeah,
for sure.
It's not that extra.
Some people cook. Some people do cook, but sometimes I just kind of sit there and I'm like, it's that just sounds too complicated for a weekly series at times. But in Gege Akatame's defense, they do not care at all if people don't remember something from like 150 chapters ago, as long as it makes sense to them.
Yeah.
Like they just don't care. They're just like, oh, you didn't read it? Tough. Which is an author's got to have a certain level of like, I mean, it's pretty ballsy. I won't lie. But when you're writing a weekly series, especially when so many new people have been reading since chapter 213, really, and especially after Gojo came back, that there's a lot of things that are just kind of lost because not everybody has the time to go back and look at the Dagon fight and be like, oh, they do all have curse techniques imbued in them, or like read a data book. So it might just feel worse to some people than others.
Exactly. Yeah. If you speed read Jujutsu Kaisen, like you said, you are cooked because
Yeah.
there is so many things where you kind of have to go back, and he doesn't. Sometimes he does, but like I think compared to other authors, he doesn't really like give remembrance to certain details. I will say, like I had this one argument on Twitter with someone where kind of going back to like the confiscation thing. And I don't know how you think about this, but they told me that it made no sense for the crew during the time skip to like not test Higuruma's domain against a curse tool with a curse technique. And here's the thing, because I feel like that is very like easy to say in hindsight, like now that this situation has happened, right? Because like the moment we saw the crew discussing about the plan for, using Higuruma's domain against Sukuna, right? Like how they're gonna give him the death sentence in the
Yeah.
battle, right? Their entire focus was like how they were gonna guarantee Sukuna the death penalty since Higuruma knew that judgment chooses opponent's crimes at random, right? So that being like the current problem at hand, they're gonna discuss it, right? They couldn't discuss what a cursed tool would do in his domain because again, like not only like we talked about Higuruma, not only has he just never experienced fighting anyone with the cursed tool yet,
Yeah.
or at least a special grade, but
Especially special grade.
also like that idea of testing a cursed tool wouldn't come to his mind. Not only that, but like it probably would have came to the crew's mind had Sukuna used a cursed tool when he was in like Yuji or Megami's body. Because remember, they literally documented every crime Sukuna did in both bodies. Like Yuji did this
Yep.
in the high school detention center. Sukuna did this in Shibuya, whatever, right? So that's the thing. If Sukuna was shown to use a cursed tool in any of those times, then I would agree. It's kind of like an ass pull. Like, okay, how did they not think about this? But that's the thing. He didn't use a cursed tool in any of their bodies. So there's no way they could have ever known to like ever think about testing Higuruma's domain, right? Sukuna only used a cursed tool during the Heian era, which
Yes.
is like me and Quirkless talked about. Like that's something they don't know, but us as the audience do because like we're given those flashback panels by Gege.
And, on the note, I've seen some people talk about this for quite a bit, is can Sukuna retrial? That's actually the genius part of their plan, is that they've left him effectively with no retrials because the culprit is during the last retrial, because during Higuruma's initial domain on Yuji, he gets the guilty verdict, and then Yuji's like, oh, bingo, I can do a retrial. He does his retrial, he gets the Shibuya accusations, and he's just like, oh, I'm guilty. So he has one more retrial. They opened it up on Sukuna, and now Sukuna has to like, okay, yeah, I'm guilty, dude, I did it. And he has no more retrials, so he's just stuck with the cursed tool gone.
Yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, unless like and I hope this doesn't happen, like some like hacks, trickery, like because Sukuna is in Megami's body, he can actually cast a retrial because not Yuji. Like I hope that something like that doesn't happen, but you're right. I don't believe they have any more retrials since they used their last two, like you said.
Yeah, because it's kind of this weird case where they were both in the sentencing initially and
Yeah.
having one body. And also, thank you, Sunflower Samurai, my favorite JJK creator. Oh, my heart.
Hey man, shout out Sunfly Samurai. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Oh, okay, sorry. That hit my heart. It hit my heart where I lived, and it sent me off for a second.
Oh, that's great.
Where were we? Executioner's Sword. So I said this in my video that the chance of this thing actually killing Sukuna is like 0%. Just because, do we really think Sukuna's going to die to an Executioner's Sword? Probably not. But, like, in theory, it's really OP. But, this is JJK. And something's probably going to go wrong. And Sukuna recently, he's kind of just been going off. And it does worry me. The curse technique of Ryomen Sukuna is still gone. We still don't know what this thing actually is. And when that thing opens up, and it's probably going to be once Yuta's back, once everybody's back, someone's probably going to die. And when they have the heavy hitters, it just feels like Hakari or Yuta, they're probably on the chopping block.
Yeah, it's like okay. First of all, yes, I also agree. I don't think the Executioner sword is going to kill Sukuna. I am glad that they were able to get it because at least I was under the impression that them getting the Executioner sword, while it isn't going to kill Sukuna, it would at least like put more pressure. Just I guess because you have to give these guys every advantage they need, right?
Yeah.
And I do agree with you, like Hakari, Yuta, like Maki, like at least one of them, you're right, they're on the chopping block. Someone who is not like guaranteed is safe is I would say Yuji, like for
Oh
sure he's
yeah,
gonna be.
definitely.
Yeah, so I don't know. I guess like we were talking about earlier with Hakari versus Uruume. Um I guess with Uruume, like she did say at the end how okay, like I'm gonna go out my all. And granted, guys, I love Hakari. He's one of my favorite characters, but I would be lying if I say there wasn't like huge death flags with him right now.
Yeah, it's Hakari especially, just because I don't want to say I don't want to downplay Hakari because Hakari kind of he does get downplayed a lot, but he does feel like kind of an ancillary character compared to Maki and Yuta. So him dying, he just feels like the most logical option, really. And Gege,
Yeah,
quite frankly, just loves Yuta. That's what it feels like.
no, I can actually see that. Yeah, it is unfortunate because like also narratively too. I don't really remember what Hakari said when he was first introduced, but the idea of him gambling, and I think he says something along the lines of like, "I'll always gamble" or something. Like I don't know. Like I can see him just. I hope he doesn't die, but if he does, then it's probably because he gambled too much, or he gambled too much and it made him die or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and on that day, Hikari Kinji's luck ran out. That has been the ongoing meme for a long time.
Yeah, yeah. No, that was put greatly. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, when we're dealing with Hikari, and I agree with you, Yuji is safe, and a lot of people disagreed with me. Personally, I was surprised, honestly, that Megami is coming back. I think Megami kind of has to come back, personally. There's just a lot of, Megami's such an important character, to not just for Yuji, but to Gojo, to Toji, just like his place in the world. He is Gojo's first student. He's the one that Gojo is like, okay, I'm going to raise this kid up after the events of Hidden Inventory. And his progression has always been linked to Sukuna and Gojo. And I feel like this is the peak of that.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree. Like, their entire goal is to save Megami. So if that doesn't happen, that would be like, damn, all for naught. Also, just like in the very beginning of the series, it was Megami who saved Yuji,
Yep.
from him not getting executed. So I liked how it would be cool, right, narratively, that the tables have turned. It's now Yuji trying to save Megami, basically just returning the favor, I guess.
Yeah, Megami especially. I know some people thought he died when he incarnated, but they always knew he might incarnate. So that was
Hmm.
like a thing to me. Or Gojo comes in, he's like, "Oh, you're not the four-armed demon man." And their whole plan was to save Megami. So if that was a killer for Megami, and first of all, I don't think Gege would just kill Megami off by an incarnation. Person
Yeah,
that just seems a little much.
I agree. Yeah. It does feel like, obviously compared to his like quote unquote Meguna, like we don't see a resemblance of Megami in the Hinera body, but he's probably still like his soul at least is deep in there somewhere.
Yeah, they did say that when someone incarnates, like, oh, your hold over that body is enough to take your form. So if Megami gets to hold over his body again, it should be the same for him, that he can incarnate.
I guess like on the topic of Megami, I don't know if you want to get into this, but like with Yuji's, I guess new power up or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of people say, and I kind of agree with this. It does look like a great theory where Yuji's punch in the last chapter, it seemed like it affected Sukuna's soul some way and somehow. And that punch, in a way, like acted as a cast or like an activation for something. And it will like allow Yuji to somehow get Megumi back because it affected Sukuna's soul. I don't know. I don't really know the like exact nuance to the theory, but that's what I've heard.
It has to be something with the soul. I feel like that much is known to us. We got that soul book. Maybe not the literal power up he has here because Yuji has just been eating bodies pretty much, so it could be practically anything at this point. Though I do think he's been using blood manipulation as well. But Yuji's always had an understanding of the soul, so I can see it. I could definitely get on board with that, especially with the whole book on the soul from Yuki, because that was like the biggest red flag to me. That okay, they're gonna get Megumi's soul out. Like the whole objective is this soul swap or something else.
Yeah, like there's just so many evidence like at this point where we can basically call it a confirmation. Right? Like Yuji saying he'll eat anything to kill Sukuna. And then like you said, Yuki's soul book. And then he had like an earlier conversation with Chozo saying, "Thank you for the brothers." And Chozo's like, "It's okay." And he was like, "No, not about killing them. Well, I know he didn't say about eating them, but Chozo did say like, "Oh, it's okay because they'll live on inside you."
Yep.
And then like you said, right, with the latest chapters of Noritoshi, or Yuji thanking Noritoshi for teaching him something because Chozo sucks at teaching, and obviously, what two connections do they have other than them possessing blood manipulation? So yeah, for sure. Yeah,
Blood
I'm seeing
manipulation's
the stream.
a cool power, a really cool power with the especially with red scale, and I called piercing blood piercing mid. Okay, I'm guilty.
Damn.
But I have since changed my opinion to it's piercing pretty good. But still, like I don't think we're gonna see Yuji use a blood manipulation, though he had not a piercing blood. But whatever he's using, his hands now, he's regrown a finger. He lost that pinky, and now it's back. He's totally fine, and he's slamming into Sukuna, who blocked him with 3 arms. And even if we look at the let me pull it up. If we look at like the second panel, he like Sukuna isn't even in the bottom part into the bottom. Like, I mean, Yuji isn't even in the bottom left, so he must have shoved him back with one punch.
Wait, let me pull up the pen. Is it 244?
I have it on stream.
Oh, okay.
It'll update in a second, I hope. But here we see that Yuji isn't even in the bottom left. So he must have either jumped away from Sukuna or moved him back. I wouldn't say that Yuji's punches are on the level of Sukuna quite yet. I think that Yuji's true power-up is still coming. But for now, he's hitting hard. And a black flash is probably caving in Jogo's head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great point. I feel like either or he like Yuji jumped back or he actually did push Sukuna a bit. I mean, like that's the thing. Like when Yuji punches Sukuna, like I feel like Yuji's the type of person to do like a barrage of punches, but he only felt the need again to do one, and then he either, like you said, moved back or one punch just like moved Sukuna back, right?
Yeah,
so that's why I feel
he
like
is the type to just barrage.
yeah, like exactly. So the fact that he felt it was enough to do one punch only is, like I said, I think it acted as like a cast or an activation, and hence seeing that panel of Sukuna feeling shocked or paralyzed of some sort.
Yeah, he definitely was like, "What's that?" And then we kind of get the cutaway. So we're probably gonna find out pretty soon. Like, I think people do sleep on Yuji. Yuji really is like whatever he was made for. What drives him physically to be so strong, we don't know yet. So if there's really anybody here that has a true shot against Sukuna, it's probably him in the long run. I mean, that's kind of what he's made for, right?
Yeah,
Like,
there's
it's
no
him.
doubt. I would like, I don't know, be shocked or surprised whenever I see comments saying, and I don't know, like I know it's Gege, like I guess it could happen, but I feel like people sometimes overestimate when they say this series is gonna end with like Sukuna being the winner.
Yeah,
I don't know
no
if you get
way.
like comments like that too.
Oh, I
Yeah,
see it all
it's
the
like
time.
it's not gonna happen.
I see it all the time. It's Yuji. Yuji's him.
Yeah.
It's like Yuji is just a winning agenda in JJK. And like, I've said I'm usually totally fine with putting my opinion out there, but long ago I said if you don't like Yuji, you're probably not gonna like the end of JJK that much. and that's just
Yeah.
that's just how it is. Because like, I mean, Gojo's important. I do love Gojo, and I think Gojo is misunderstood a little bit in JJK sometimes, as in he's not just strong guy, but Yuji at the end of the day, it is about Yuji's emotional conflict with Sukuna and how he plays off Megumi and even Gojo.
Yeah, no, 100% agree. Like, it might look like he's been, taking L's in obviously Shibuya losing a lot of people and a
Yeah.
little bit in the Culling games, but like guys, he's not gonna take an L all the way through. Like especially here, like you can see just even in the panel, like with his determination to actually kill Sukuna once and for all, like it's going to happen. He's
Oh
he's
yeah.
gonna get the dub in the end.
Yeah, Yuji, when we look at the Mahito fight recently in the anime as well, Mahito when he says like, "Oh, I'm you," I will kill you as many times as it takes. You can reincarnate. It's really for me this is just foreshadowing for his conflict eventually with Sukuna that he's like, "I'll kill you as many times as it takes because that's my role in this." And constantly throughout Shibuya and the whole series we see that Yuji, he is just confused about what his role actually is. He tells us in Shibuya like, "Oh, I'll just get to Gojo and I'll free him, and that's my role here. I'll kill these curses, and that's my role here. I'll die. I'll die with 15 fingers. I'll get Gojo free, and I'll just die. And that's my role." And then Megami gets taken over, and he's like, "My role is to kill Sukuna." And that's what he knows now.
Yeah, you're right. Like he kind of does like after the Megami thing happened, he kind of does go back to like the resolve he had when he was in the peak fighting Mahito, just to like my role is to kill Sukuna, my role is to like like that's my role in all this. It's my job. There's not really any deeper meaning than that.
Yeah, he is like. I'm curious. What do you think of Yuji as a reincarnation? I mean, if when we look at the panels, okay, I'm starting to. As we get further into the series, Yuji and Sukuna, they look just like each other. They really do. And it looks like obviously Sukuna is deformed and older, but there is a relation there, like an undeniable relation at this point, in my opinion.
Yeah, you know what? I'm the one in the minority. Like I'm probably the one with the hot take here in that I know there are definitely a resemblance and probably like really good clues that Yuji and Sukuna are related. But I don't know why I kind of hope that they're like not brothers from another mother. They're not siblings or whatever. Um and they're just like related in some other way, or maybe just not related at all. That's what
I'm starting to
I don't
wonder
know.
if they're literally the same person,
Oh, hmm. I've,
because
I've never thought about that theory
Yuji
before.
Yuji is a perfect vessel that comes once every 1,000 years, and Sukuna, we don't know how he got this strong, and from the sounds of it, he was weak at one point. And he is also a cannibal. They are both cannibals. They both eat people. And we don't know if Sukuna necessarily eats people for power, but we know he eats his own curse fingers for power. And I'm not
Wait,
really sure how and like I'm not I'm not exactly sure if Gojo knew what Sukuna's curse technique was when he says, "Oh man, you'll inherit his power." I'm like, if his power is eating people, like do you want Yuji to be a cannibal one day? Is that like the whole plan?
yeah, no, dude, I don't know what Gojo was spinning there.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't
it's
know,
been
like
something.
possible, like he somehow sensed with his six eyes that like Yuji always had Sukuna's cursed energy steeped within him, and that
That does
maybe
sound
that's
like
how
a
he got
Gojo
like
thing to never tell anybody.
yeah.
Like, like, can you imagine if Gojo knew the whole time? He's like, "Oh yeah, this is just like Sukuna, part of Sukuna here, but like I'm gonna teach him anyways." That does sound like something he'd do, if I'm being honest. That's kind of why I like Gojo in the first place. Is that he doesn't really judge people based on where they are, where they're from. He's like, okay, you're powerful, you're your own person. I mean, he kind of hates her spirits, but who doesn't?
Yeah.
Besides that, that is kind of a hot take, a little bit of a hot take that they aren't brothers. And brothers, I like the twin theory, I do, but as we get further into it, I'm like, it's either going to be that or they're like related as the same person or like he's a part of Sukuna. That's what I feel.
I guess I don't know what it was. I think the only like maybe thing that kind of contradicted it for me was just like the idea that well, actually no, he does say Yuji's from back then, so that is kind of ambiguous, and it could definitely lead to maybe him, I guess, like they knew Yuji before somehow, or he's like a reincarnate. But I don't know. I feel like it just would have been made more clear or more apparent in the story. If they were somehow like twins before and like they just found out now. I don't know. Like I said, I think my opinion
Yeah.
is more of the hot take. So yeah,
No, I mean I can see where you're coming from, and I do. It is, we don't get a lot of tidbits about it. There is like the whole you're from he's from back then, and it might be just that Yuji because man, so I have a lot of thoughts throwing my head about this. This is probably one of the biggest reveal in JJK ever coming up on. But let me answer this chat question from Sunflower Samurai. Thank you for 5. What are your theories about how cursed corpses will come into play? Will one be made with whose soul? I could see Gojo's soul used for that. Cursed corpses. That is a good question. We haven't heard anything about those in a while, have we?
yeah, not in a long time. I feel like this is not really like a cursed corpse, but if I mean, like Sunflower said, Gojo's soul being used for that. Like if some soul were to, who's died, reincarnate back into life, I think if anyone could do that, it would probably be Ino, since he has the seance technique. And hey,
Yeah.
we do see Ino, coming in the battlefield. He's, expectively supposed to, he's a part of the plan, right? He's one of the 3 people
Part of the
who came
plan.
into Sukuna. I don't know what he's gonna do,
Part of
but
the plan. Part of the Suicide Squad.
he did say like or no, Shoko did say like, hey, like Ino has got something to tell us. So I don't know, maybe it's something with the seance technique. Another thing with Ino too is that we've never seen his other auspicious beast, which is like said in Ino's words to be, no one has ever lived after getting hit to see the tail. So
um,
again, that's just in his words, but
yeah. Unfortunately, he's up against that one dude with 4 arms.
yeah, unfortunately,
Unfortunately, he's
totally not the strongest.
against Haxman. Yeah, Sakuna really is. I do think Gege did a great job at displaying like that Sakuna really is just this guy and has this unnatural level of power that we still don't know where he got it from. But there's something there. He definitely has like this massive chip on his shoulder about everything, especially Yuji. Like whenever it comes to like the weak or people stifling their misery, Sakuna, to me, I've always interpreted him as being a miserable person who kind of like, he stifles himself in hedonism. He does enjoy like these hedonistic tendencies of like, oh, the taste of humans is as fleeting as it is varied. Right, it's as varied as it is fleeting. And the real takeaway from that is that this guy is just passing the time until he dies. And it doesn't sound like somebody who's necessarily enjoying their life. And when he tells Yuji, you should stifle your misery. Let's see. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, like I 100% agree. Like he really is the embodiment of pure evil. Like just there really is no meaning other than like that's just his way of life. Like you said, pure hedonism. I think that's how you pronounce it. That's the thing. Like, bro, I know. Like, I think we talked about this even a little bit before stream. Is that with JJK supposedly ending this year, and I think it's probably gonna end this year. I really, really hope it's just, Gege didn't throw this idea away. Like, I hope we're still gonna get that Sukuna flashback, and like you said, learn and see how he became who he became to be, right? And also not just that, but the flashback of Kinjaku and everyone in the old days. So yeah.
Oh, I think we definitely will. And I think like that's probably one of the biggest flashbacks we're going to get. And Gege Akatame, I know some people think it was rushed. I think the biggest thing that's rushed for me right now is, I know you felt this way too when it came out, was the 220, the 220, 222, when they skip over the whole month of Gojo coming back. Of their whole
Wait, let me.
It was a while back. The one chapter
Oh,
where, like,
the
everybody was like, "Oh my god, did we just time skip?"
yeah. So actually, I at first I thought it was kind of weird, but then I was like fine with it after because I just knowing that they were gonna bring like some moments and show some flashbacks from that time skip to later in the story. But like, no, I definitely get why people like, they probably like wanted to see just like a mini arc with them all talking and discussing their plans all piled up together instead of like having each flashback occur later in the story.
It does kind of feel like Gojo was like, okay, we got Gojo back. Okay, he's dead.
Oh, in that way, yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes.
like if you, especially if you read it now, and it's not like the serialization of week to week.
I remember actually, because before you're right, before the Gojo versus Sukuna fight happened, my predictions were. Oh wait, someone said Shinobi's volume is so much lower. Am I loud?
Let me know. I don't think you're loud. I think I'm just quiet. Let me turn up the. Let me turn my microphone. Let me know if that's better, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Diego, for letting us know. Where was I? Yeah, so before the Gojo versus Sukuna fight happened, I was like thinking, okay, well, you know what? Gojo was literally sealed for like 2 years for more than half the story. He just came back, right? And then so I'm thinking, okay, I don't think he might die because like he just came back after missing 2 years. Especially since like we started the Gojo versus Sukuna fight, like you said, right after the time skip. So I don't know, like the placement feels odd, but I guess in a way it really sets in stone that like JJK, like it's so unexpected sometimes. Like that's how death is. Like it comes when you least expect it.
You're about to send me off on a tangent here because I've had a lot of thoughts about this. I've seen a lot of people saying, "Oh, characters just die in JJK for no reason," but really, the characters that die in JJK, they are always pushing Yuji towards something or Megami. Generally, deaths in JJK always serve one of the two main characters and their progression. Really, the core conflict in JJK, at least the emotional conflict, not physical conflict, is what does it mean to save a person? Is it like what is the proper way to go about things? Save everybody, save nobody, or save everybody, save nobody, or save people that you choose to save, like Megami. And as we get further in, clearly Sukuna's wrong that, love is not worthless. It is not this thing that nobody needs at all. But for Megami and Yuji, they kind of come to this agreement that, okay, your ideology's right, mine is too. We'll go our separate ways. And I think that's why their reunion, especially now that they have this shared trauma of being a vessel of Sukuna, because they're the only ones that really understand what it feels like to be, robbed of your autonomy and taken to go, oh, I just killed your stepdad and I killed all these people in Shibuya and you're, it's practically your fault.
Yeah, no, you honestly put it greatly. I can't really comment anything or add on to that really. Someone asked like earlier, if you think this is going to be like not the last fight, but like the scene with Sukuna now, is that it? Like, is that the last time we're fighting Sukuna, or do you think like, okay, we fight Sukuna here, they kind of like recoup a bit, and then we're gonna fight Sukuna again?
I think they're definitely. I don't know if they're gonna regroup. I don't know if they're gonna have enough people to regroup. But with the recent, because I'm kind of like black-pilled on this, that I think they're just like some people are just gonna get chopped in half here. Like half the squad is probably dead by the end. Because they did say in the past, this is really the throwback to history, and that the 10 shadows versus the limitless, and now these sorcerers of the modern day have rose up again. They've honed their skills, and in the past they were ultimately defeated. And it sounds like that's what's happening again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I don't know, man. Especially with that last panel at the end of the chapter, where it's like Sukuna, if he wanted to, probably could, just kill it. I mean, obviously, like,
he's
interested in the Executioner sword. Yeah, so he just did the just regular dismantle and cleave slash. He doesn't want, obviously, because like he said he's interested in the sword, so why would he kill Higuruma? That'd be kind of like counterintuitive.
Somebody asked, do we think Gege has written himself into a corner with a sequence between Sukuna and Higuruma? I don't think so, because I think Gege has done a pretty good job to set up that, first of all, we have Kenjaku's plan looming over all of this right now. And we also have the fact that, Sukuna, he's not somebody who goes out of his way to just body you. And he says that himself. He's like, okay, I live my life, and you can't measure up. That's your problem. And if you don't bore me, I'll play around for a bit.
Yeah, he plays with this food. He doesn't just, instantly like he wants to see, okay, can this person not bore me? Can they like can I have fun with this person for a bit, right? Until they bore me and then I'll kill them.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's necessarily written in a corner because I feel like we still have to wait for more chapters to come out cuz like I would assume, right? Like obviously they like when you go back to the plan when they said okay like we're gonna guarantee Sukuna the death penalty whatnot it wasn't really 100% guarantee. It was more like okay this is most likely gonna happen, so I would assume they had thought of like a contingency in case this doesn't work. Or no, that actually during the time skip they didn't even know okay would it compensate the 10 shadows or would it compensate Sukuna's slashes, right? Obviously we know that the 10 shadows I think at least narratively, like it might not be used again. Like that's kind of gone from the Gojo fight. But they didn't know that during the time skip, right? So I'm assuming they should have like a backup plan in case Sukuna still has the slashes after the domain. So I wouldn't necessarily say it's written in a corner. I think again, like I said, they still have a plan.
Sukuna's also, he feels he's in a winning position, and he also feels that he says he's in a good mood. Don't spoil my fun. And yeah. Sukuna's arrogance in general is just so astronomically high that he is the kind of person that would just be like, oh, I'm going to torture this person. Oh, I'll leave Yuji alive to suffer. Because right now he's like, okay, I killed Gojo. And even if, he had his one shiny moment, that's over now, and he's dead. And now I'm pretty much free reign. Especially when he brings back this demon form out of nowhere.
Someone said, sorry guys, I'm about to spam my question until it's answered. I guess if you want to answer, read one of his questions.
Yes, we will accept the spam this time. We've heard from Kenny that he's only interested in Higuruma in the coming games. Now in chapter 245, we get a voice in Higuruma's head saying, do you want to die? What are your thoughts on that? I'm guessing you're trying to imply that it might be Kenjaku. I don't think that's necessarily impossible because Kenjaku, they are in the barrier, effectively, the barriers of Japan, that he should still have control over. So whether there is communication between that, I'm not entirely sure. But I kind of took that personally as an internal thought of Higuruma when all the characters were saying, like, this is basically a death run if you come along with that RCT.
Yeah. For me, like I said, apologies, guys. I am away, so I actually haven't been able to read the full translations. In the spoilers, they did say it was like a flashback, but I guess they just kind of assumed that. I'm assuming in the actual chapter, it's like left up to interpretation. It's not like confirmed a flashback of someone saying, "Do you want to die, Higuruma?" So like Quirkless said, it could just be maybe the crew asking them like, do you want to die as like a for sure? Do you want to be in this battle? Are you not like Naruto Shikamo? Are you willing to sacrifice yourself? Or maybe it is like that quote is a flashback of maybe one of his attorneys or lawyers for whatever reason quoting Sukuna, do you want to die? Actually, I do have the TCB translations up right now. It does say, hold on, let me pull up the panel.
Let me look at this myself.
The way it's kind of like set up, it says here, okay, it says, do you have a death wish, Higuruma? And then it goes on to say, the only ones who realized something was amiss with this seemingly golden opportunity was Sukuna and Higuruma himself. So I wonder, is Sukuna saying that to Higuruma? Or, I don't know. Again, it's just left ambiguous.
It does feel like, do you have a death wish, Higuruma? Yeah, it does say that Sukuna and Higuruma were the ones who noticed that the confiscation would go off. I don't know. That's so ambiguous though that like I don't know if I could draw something from that and say, oh yeah, he's getting talked to right now.
Like when it says the only ones who realized something was wrong with Sukuna and Higuruma, is that separate or does that connect with the do you have a death wish, Higuruma? So like you said, I don't really know. I can't really form a theory or anything.
It is an interesting thought.
Very ambiguous. It is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see where people could. That's one of the less ridiculous theories I've actually read.
I mean, we might literally get it revealed in the next chapter, right? So
Yeah, that's usually how these things go. Where like there are these massive theories. I remember I thought, okay, once Maharaga came out, I'm like, has it adapted to his whole technique? But it just like goes right back away, and then it's like 2 more chapters of Fist.
mm-hmm.
It's usually how these things go. But what do you call it? Is there going to be a? I don't know. I guess Maki's kind of got to pop out eventually. But I feel like when Maki pops out, you're going to have Yuta come back because eventually these characters are going to converge. I think Hikari is going to win his fight with Urame or Urame, but after that he's probably going to die to Sukuna. That just feels like the natural end of his character.
Ooh, I don't know. I don't even, to be honest, like I do also expect Yuta to eventually come back, but um maybe not. Like I feel like if he were to come back, it it would kind of like, I guess, entail or indicate that Kenjaku is dead, and maybe he is dead, but I think the way I see it is that okay, Yuji has Sukuna, Urume has or Hikari has Urume, and Yuta, like he will be like fighting Kenjaku for a while. No doubt, like you said, he probably is going to come to the battlefield with Sukuna, but I don't know. I don't think he will like arrive to Shinjuku maybe like normally as Kusakabe at least expects.
I think it will be like once they're all there, that will be the climax because the Sukuna technique reveal is being saved for something, and at this point, like it's probably gonna be cracked. Let's be honest. With that, like especially with the anime fire arrow, if it's anything like that, like these characters really are in a, or at least 90% of them are in fire arrow cook range. Like Momo better not fly that broom too close. Just be
Yeah,
burned
no,
out of
you're
the
right.
sky. But yeah,
That's actually a great point. Like with the fire arrow thing, because in the time skip they know that Sukuna has more than just slicing and slashing because they documented arson, or what's it called, like like fire in buildings, whatever.
yeah.
So they might like thought of something, or at least expect Sukuna to know that he has more abilities than one.
Somebody asked me, do I think Mahito is coming back? Mahito is Uzumaki'd. His technique got extracted, effectively. So he should just be gone forever, right?
Yeah, listen, I miss Mahito so much. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just not possible for him to come back. He,
Yeah.
he got Uzumaki used
Mahito,
in the coming games.
he was really like a front runner for the conflict with Sukuna. Like, he taught us about the soul. He showed Yuji what a curse truly is, and now he's getting like the full climax to that with this the forearm guy. Because Ryomen
Yeah.
Sukuna, like I don't know why it seems there is a pretty big controversy about this. People are like, oh, Sukuna's like the main villain, but like Kenjaku does the plot, and it's like Sukuna's kind of always been in the background as like this force that has to be dealt with. Like once he's back, he's the issue. And while I do understand the argument that Kenjaku, he does move the plot the most, he does. But it's like the difference between, I couldn't really think of an example. But it's the difference between emotional conflict and pure plot movement.
Yeah, I think like it's totally okay to have like two antagonists, and like you said, one moves the plot a lot, and the other is kind of like he's there just like behind and waiting to come out. Like he was gonna be someone to, like you said, be a disaster to deal with later. I guess like an example, like there's like Naruto, like I mean this is
Yeah.
not really a great example, but like there's many like Obito, Madara.
That's exactly what I was thinking, actually. It's
Okay,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah, I was like,
I don't know if that's a
Obito.
good example to use, but
Yeah, there
I
could
guess
be
it
two
is.
villains. Like Madara couldn't be the villain in Naruto the entire time because he is effectively Sukuna, or he's just not there. Like he's there, he's coming. Don't worry, guys, he's on his way, but he's not there
Yeah.
yet. And you can't have Sukuna in the forefront the whole series, even though he's coming. Like he is from the start. And
He's there until the end.
I do wonder if Gege Akatame changed their mind halfway through the story, like, okay, well, maybe not, that like Gojo was going to beat Sukuna. It's not. It's
Um,
kind of hard to tell because these things are so fluid, especially when you're writing a weekly series. But I think by the time of Shibuya, yeah, Sukuna was definitely supposed to win, guaranteed. Actually, maybe before that.
Man, if Gege did like had a thought of Gojo beating Sukuna, dude, the crazy thing is like let's say that like that was a possibility that did exist. And he wrote it in an author's comment, bro, he would get flamed. It would be like in the beginning of the story, I actually intended Gojo to beat Sukuna, and like that author's comment is like the chapter he died. So, oh my god.
Yeah,
That would go crazy.
people meme on the "nah, I'd win" all the time. But Gojo, that's Gojo's personality. Gojo is the kind of guy that when he tells someone, he's like, "I'm the strongest," and that's what he tells everybody. But he has his own personal self doubts. He does because he's human, and he's not this 1,000-year-old demon dude. And I do like that they showcase that he called himself the strongest, and he gave an aura to his students. Even when he thought he was going to lose, he said nothing. When he thought he might die, he said nothing because he's got to look cool for his students. And I like that a lot, that him being the strongest is just as much a title for himself in his own head as it is for everybody else, and that he wants to project this aura of, don't worry, everything's going to be okay.
Yeah, no, that was perfectly said. Dude, it was so cool too. I don't know, like if you watched the Jump Festa live event, but I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's specifically the voice actor said the "nah, I'd win." I don't really remember, but like they did voice act some of that like beginning pages of Sukuna and Gojo encountering each other.
God, the memes are endless for "nah, I'd win." Actually endless. I even
Man, like JJK TikTok is like
it's
whenever I see
something
memes
else
about it, it's yeah. It's a different type. Like I've never seen like anything like it really.
I've never seen a meme transcend where it originally started like this in I guess it's just because it does kind of look bad. Like the whole having a full page spread of like, dude, I'll kill you, and then dying, it had me thinking.
Yeah,
like Gojo's confidence had me thinking, oh shit, he might actually win.
Like looking at it from a broader perspective, like okay, you say Nod win and then he dies later, like it is pretty funny. And also just I don't know, like the JJK like memes community, it's just like it's something like even that obviously the Nod win meme, but also like the I don't know how or like how someone just like came up with this where they would just say, "Are you Nod win because you're the strongest?" Like they just combined so many different dialogues into like one sentence. Do you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like they would say like, "Are you
They do.
Nod win because you're the strongest?" or "Are you Nod win because I'm the one who left it
something.
all behind?" I'm like, what the hell? Like, how do you think of that? But also like, why
It's
does it sound kind of funny?
Shinobi and Weave say, nah, I'd review. That's true. We would.
Yeah, that is true.
Yeah, it's even my friends who don't watch JJK were like, "Hey, is this that Weave shit that you cover?"
I've also seen I don't know if you've seen this meme where it's like a homeless person doing domain expansion. Have you seen that one?
I have
Chad,
not
you know
seen
what
that
I'm talking
one.
about?
I've seen
Oh
the one
man,
that's an amalgamation of like every single Nine win all to coalesce into one giant Gojo picture.
oh yeah. Like
That's
they
perfect.
combined everything. I don't know how that like even works, but damn.
Yeah, Gege will
Technology.
have to explain how Sukuna will kill Gojo without the help of Maharaga. If he didn't explain that, then this is the big plot hole. I mean, we already know the capability to kill Gojo came from Sukuna's CT. Like, the application of expanding the target was always there. Maharaga just showed him. It's not to say, like, would he be able to learn it on his own? I don't know. I'm not... You probably have to ask Gege on that one. But I think Gege did intentionally put it in his technique. And there's also the fact that... I mean, I don't really want to go too much into Gojo versus Sukuna because I've kind of said my piece on that enough with enough things, but it is a complicated fight. So there are options for both characters to win. So I don't think it's as much of a plot hole as some people might think it is, that he would he needed Maharaga. But it's probably that argument's probably going to go till the end of JJK and beyond for years.
Yeah. Just give me 1 minute. I'm getting like a phone call. I'll be like
Oh
back.
yeah,
I'll just
no problem.
mute my mic.
All right, guys, this is your opportunity. Post your questions. We got, is Gojo going to return without his pants? No, Gojo will not return without his pants. I'm sorry. I'm afraid that Gege Akatame is not drawing the pantless Gojo. All right, Gege has been so unpredictable when it comes to Sukuna. I think it's so unlikely that he'll be defeated because of a trope, like being blindsided from arrogance. Yeah, Sukuna's death does definitely feel like there's been a plan for how he's going to die for a long time. And people are going to I'm sure some people, regardless of what it is, are going to be disappointed because that's just the consumption of media in general, is that not everyone's going to enjoy a resolution as much as some other people. And that's just how it is. And as long as it makes sense within the lines of the story, and we can look back, like what really makes a good ending for me is if I can look back at the beginning and say, okay, there it is. The ending was right in front of us. All the plot points were always there. That's what I hope is there, personally. The amount of hate JJK gets on Twitter recently is crazy. True. Actually true.
I'm back.
Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you.
What do you think? So I just answered a question on this, and I'm curious what your opinion is. How do you feel about the current hatred, the vitriol, it almost feels like, of JJK Twitter towards Jujutsu Kaisen? Because it does feel like writing accusations of bad writing have gone up astronomically since Gojo died, which, I mean, kind of inevitable.
Okay, this might come as a surprise. I don't really see a lot of hate on JJK Twitter, but I think that's because I don't really I don't really use Twitter as much.
Good choice.
I will only use Twitter mainly for like following sports, so I don't really know what's like the
excellent choice.
Contentious topics going on. Yeah,
to Twitter, like I get sucked into that sometimes. Like once a week, it's like 1 hour gone.
What are like the hot takes that are going
I mean,
on?
I think JJK. I'm just gonna put all my hot takes out there on the internet because that's all I ever do here, anyways. I feel like JJK is a very complicated series for a shonen, in the sense of like how the power system works, how things interact with each other, how the history of the characters, what characters are even alive, because people, even in this chat, still think Mahito's alive sometimes. And it's just and Gojo is not only one of the most popular characters in JJK, he's the most popular in JJK. I mean, let's be fair. But one of the most popular characters in anime, and having him die, okay, it was going to be controversial no matter what. It was always going to be controversial because what a lot of people, not everybody, but what a lot of people wanted was a Gojo hard W. I'm the strongest, and I'll body him because that's what people like from their heroes. And I've seen a lot with other characters, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I'll say my take on the I guess the complexity of the series. I will say sometimes it is great that authors can do a lot of showing and not telling, but to the point where it can get very confused, or I don't know, sometimes Gege will say a very minuscule detail that is said maybe in the beginning of the series or in past chapters, and then he will bring it up again, but he won't give us a reminder, which in a lot of cases, again, that's cool. You can take Naruto or One Piece, for example, where they always repeat the same thing, and it's okay, we get it, we don't have to hear it again. But I maybe with JJK they do it a bit less. Also, this is not really even Gege's thing, but I think after Shibuya, in the Culling games, it just got so much worse, especially with the Viz translations. I was reading or the volumes in the library, just wanted to see the Culling games and whatnot, and it is so hard to sometimes even read. I feel damn, does my reading comprehension sucks, or do these translations suck? Because god damn, I feel bad. People who are casuals that are normally reading JJK through buying the volumes, they might not experience the true JJK that we experience, because like I'm telling you, the translations affect like
Some of them are
enjoyment so
so
much.
egregious. Like, I think the original translation, if you get the hardcover, is that Sakuna ultimately was defeated back in the Heian era. But now they changed it for the online version that he ultimately won, which is the truth. So you still have people, like, the fundamental thing of Sakuna was defeated or not is a mistranslation in itself, which is ridiculous, which is just, like, I don't even know how that gets past, the translators. Like, do you even read JJK at that point? That's what it feels like sometimes
Yeah.
to me.
I heard like like the early JJK like Viz translations were pretty good, and then obviously after Shibuya they had like a change in translators, and apparently like he had to kind of like quickly read JJK and then obviously catch up to it to translate it. The problem is like I feel like that's obviously bad, right? Because like you can have some mistranslations and whatnot. But like you said, like it could be so bad where it literally translates something that's not true. So like you said, the whole Sakuna thing of him being defeated, or even in the kind of latest chapters or chapter like 220 when the way the Viz wrote it was like Shoko kind of said she had a crush on Geto and Gojo.
Yeah.
I think like that's how the Viz translation put it, which is just not true.
Oh yeah,
I
and
don't know.
in
It's
the
just
actual one, she's like, I would never fall in love with any of you.
yeah.
Yeah,
Also,
it's
like the words, like I don't know. It's like pulling. He's like pulling the synonym book or something, like trying to replace every word with like another that's less known. I don't know. It's
it
weird.
does kind of feel like Andrei Sapkowski's writing for the Witcher books when I read the translations for those. And like characters
Mm.
in the Viz translations, occasionally they go off on like a tangent to like some of the words. I know some people thought inviolability was if that was the one. Well, like it is the proper term. It is
It
correct. But
is, yeah.
like sometimes it's like except for like when you have the infinity bear, you could have just said infinity. Like everyone would have known what it
Really
was.
good.
And like you're also the Viz translator. There's no way you haven't seen the anime. Well, actually, maybe. To be honest.
Yeah, I'm hoping like the anime whenever season 3 comes out, like they're not gonna use. I mean, they don't normally do that. Like they usually Crunchyroll has their own subtitles. So yeah.
Malevolent Kitchen.
Yeah, and then sometimes it misses. I heard that they actually fixed it, but I don't know what the hell.
They
Like,
they
how
did
they even
fix it.
like that must have gone through
Yes.
like AI or something. Like, there's no way they thought Malevolent Kitchen was
They
right.
also called Cleave and Dismantle like fillet and dissect.
Yeah, it's like a why?
I remember I was
Just use
watching
Cleave and
that with my
Dismantle.
friend, and it like it has the amazing moment of like the music picks up and the malevolent shrine pops up, and he's just like Malevolent Kitchen, and we just laughed. Like I just ruined the whole thing. I mean, I didn't ruin it, but it was just funny.
Yeah, like I was watching reaction channels. And it's like they get confused because like the translations are kind of weird. Like fillet, like wait, what do you mean fillet? Like, I
He's
feel
a
like
chef.
if they used cleave and dismantle, it I don't know if cleave and dismantle were like the name was introduced in season 1. Probably not. But I feel like saying that would have at least gave the impression that oh those are probably the names of Sukuna's abilities. Like I feel like fillet and whatever it was, yes, he is kind of like a chef, but it's such a literal translation. It's such a literal word where you don't know if that's the name of Sukuna's slashing
Yeah,
attacks. At least that's how I found it.
especially when he says like he does the signature side dash and puts out the two fingers and goes dismantle in the manga, which is a pretty cool panel to me. And seeing it
Hmm.
as dissect, it was like it didn't hit the same initially. They did change that as well, back to cleave and dismantle. And actually, I want to answer this question: should Maharaga actually be Makara though? Yes, you are correct. That is the actual translation of the Buddhist divine general Makara, which is
Yeah,
what he's
yeah,
based on. So, but Maharaga
yeah.
still
It's like
sounds cool, and he does have
some.
traits. Sorry, continue.
Oh, go ahead.
No, no, you go.
No, I was just
We're all
gonna say like
inclusive.
some translations. I was gonna say some translations are like sometimes like very rarely they're for the better. Like well, okay, Makora, yes, it is the like proper translation. I don't know why. Maybe just because I've just been saying Maharaga for so long that it just sounds cooler to me. But maybe if I heard Makora first. I would have liked that better. But
That's a
that's
good
not really a
point.
problem. But man, a lot of like the words, like just reading through the Viz translations, especially in the Cullen games, like they lose aura. They like it's just like it makes me want to put the book down. It's like, okay, I'm not reading this.
Marilla Rod for 5, thank you very much, says, I always found it interesting that in Shibuya, Geto choked Kenjaku, but I wonder what the implications of that moment meant. What are your thoughts? I think that is the case in point that the soul, the initial inhabitant of their body will always be there to some degree. That even like cursed energy itself really is an eldritch power source. It's not like your usual, like your chakra or your nen. Like while these are power sources people tap into, cursed energy itself is the quote unquote evil, and the soul is intrinsically linked to this evil. And wherever Rika's soul went, like up to heaven or something, Sakuna's definitely not going there. So there's probably far more to it than we currently know, especially when Sakuna's hand sign is of a person who has of the King Enma, the King of Hell, and he was a man who died and then went on to become the King of Hell. And recently we learned that Sakuna, he has experienced death before, so that's a kind of an interesting point.
Yeah, I'm personally of the opinion, I guess kind of similar to you. Like I don't really think that was um like Geto himself doing that like to Kenjaku. Like Quirkless said, that's more of like his soul, like his cursed energy. Just like how do I say this? Like it's not him doing it, but that's just because it's his like will in a way, like kind of like the Rika thing, right? Like
Yep.
Rika's not really alive, but it's like her will. That's like kind of the best way I can describe it or compare it. Someone said I feel like I've seen a few arrows in the Mahito fight, which is true. Like there is some things in the Mahito fight I kind of wish the anime did like how it did in the manga. Like for example, with the whole time lag, like in the latest episode, I've seen a lot of reactors confused like what that was. Obviously we know as manga readers it's Divergent Fist, but also in the manga, like I'm pretty sure they explain that is like they quote that is Divergent Fist happening. And some other stuff like unfortunately, it's not really a big thing, but like when Yuji did the Taito martial arts kick,
Yes.
we kind of get like the explanation of that, and it was kind of like set up beautifully when he does it in the manga, whereas in the anime, there's like no dialogue about that. So there's definitely some things I
I'm
wish.
curious, on the note of Yuji's kicks, Yuji does get the lows on Sakuna a lot. Or he gets the lows on people in general, I should say. But we had like the foreshadowing for a couple times now. Yuji has gone for like an upper attack and immediately swapped to a low attack, and it's been like directly noted by every character it's happened to. I think that's kind of curious to me. It even kind of caught Sakuna off guard in the initial domain fight. I wonder if that's going to come back into play.
I'm not gonna lie, when you said Yuji's on the lows, I'm like, wait, what do you mean by that? I was like, oh, like when he
Yeah,
kicks.
yeah,
And then
just a little,
yeah, okay.
little down 4 Mortal Kombat sweep. What's this? There's also, do you think that after Sukuna is defeated, the JJK world will continue to be a cycle of curses and sorcerers fighting? That is an excellent question, because I don't think it will be the same. I think the issue in JJK is cursed energy. Like cursed spirits, we are the true humans. These soul vengeful spirits coming back. There's a bit of an upset in the world, in the sense that like characters, like a sorcerer dies and comes back as a vengeful spirit. That kind of calls into question the very nature of what a cursed spirit is and what your soul's implication on one can be. Like, some people think that cursed spirits themselves are actually reincarnations of not just fears, but, the collective consciousness of people as well. So, there's definitely food for thought there.
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't when you were reading the question, I was like, wait, what was the question?
He said, do we think that the sorcerers, like at the end of the series, do we think curse energy and sorcerers fighting curses will continue to be the status quo? And I think no. I think curse energy itself might exist in a completely different form or be gone entirely.
Yeah, that's interesting because like that was like Yuki's goal. So I don't know, like that I guess that would be like a nice ending to Jujutsu Kaisen where like you said, that world is just like doesn't really exist anymore. Um, I don't know, to be honest. I don't really have any thoughts on that.
Alexander asks, Quirkless, what are your thoughts on Yuki and how she was handled? I don't think you made a video at that time. Yuki Tsukumo, you see, at the time, full disclosure, I wasn't like super into JJK at the time of Shibuya. I mean, I watched the anime when it came out, and then I read the manga a bit later, and I was like, okay, Gojo got sealed. I'll probably come back towards the end of the Culling Games. And at the time, I wasn't super invested in Yuki, so when I read through everything, and I saw how Yuki died, and she made that black hole, I do feel like she kind of just got dusted. But I wasn't like super attached to her, so it wasn't. I thought she was, she handled it well. She brought up the main point of cursed energy and optimizing it versus removing it entirely, and she also let us get a bit more of a view as to who Kenjaku is. So I think she was overall pretty good. But as far as like a powerful character that got removed, she did kind of just get dusted, like I said. So if you were a huge fan, she wasn't in it very much. That's my opinion on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like Yuki kind of like she did obviously like she did what she needed to do, right? She also like her I guess death kind of proved to the sorcerers that you can't pull up in Kenjaku and fight him through conventional means, right? You have to obviously approach him with a special plan. And as for like Yuki, like I think she kind of falls victim to just Jujutsu Kaisen being a series that is gonna and not to say it's like necessarily rushed, but I definitely did. If it could have been longer, there could have been obviously potential with Yuki. People like compare it with the whole like her with Stars and Stripes and MHA. I think Stars and Stripes is definitely a much worse scenario.
Oh yeah, she just like kind of showed up and was like, "I'm overpowered," and then died.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Yuki at least had like some build up, not even just for Shibuya, but even in hidden inventory. And her like I guess conversation with Chozo. Like I said, it was like overall, I guess I don't know about satisfied, but I don't have like a huge problem with it.
I think I would have more of a problem with it if she didn't say to Choso, where she was like, "Choso, you're no longer a curse. Live as a human." And then she basically sent him off to live. And like at that point, you're like, "Okay, she's dead." That's how it felt to me, anyways. Like she's
Yeah,
pretty much
no, for
guaranteed
sure.
dead at that point. This is actually This is a question I love. What type of death should Sukuna get? I think Sukuna needs a death where he is unable to lie to himself that his idea of being his idea of being love is worthless, knowing loneliness and like loneliness is fine. Having a solitude in your absolute strength is wrong, and I think that Yuji is the one that is going to show him that okay, Sukuna, you're incorrect. Like, love is not worthless. Love is the greatest curse. And this guy is the king of curses, after all. And him learning love, it kind of goes back to JJK0 in a lot of ways. And while I don't think it's a literal love, it is the idea that solitude is not the only option for strength. That's how I interpret it anyways.
That's a great answer. I feel like I'm gonna go with Quirkless there. Like, I've never thought about the question, but Sukuna dying in the way that he kind of admits or notices or realizes that like his ideals are wrong. Oh, I can get behind that. That's pretty cool. 100%. Like one thing for sure is that I don't know how, in what way, or like in what scene this plays out, but like me and Quirkless said in the very beginning of the stream, Yuji is for sure going to be the man, the person that like ends Sukuna's character.
Yeah. I think Megami needs to get back as well after everything that's happened, but Yuji really is the guy who is Yuji and Sukuna. It's not just that Sukuna has beaten up Yuji to the point of being cripplingly depressed. It's also the fact that Sukuna is just, his ideology is such an antithesis to what Yuji is entirely that he just kind of has to be the one to do it. And Gojo being the one to raise up the Sukuna killer, I think that's just thematically good for his character as well.
Yeah.
Especially when, the idea that Gojo raised, like, effectively took Kenjaku's son under his wing. It's just kind of crazy to me. I mean, I know that was the plan, but
Do you think? Sorry, go ahead.
no, you go.
No, I was just gonna ask, like, do you think Kenjaku is gonna die before Sukuna, or is like Sukuna gonna die before Kenjaku?
I think Kenjaku's gonna die first for sure. I think
Okay.
they're very much setting up, especially in the last chapter, 2 chapters ago. They set up that okay, Sukuna's gonna be alive and we can survive the merger, and Kenjaku's like, my will live on because Kenjaku's plan. I think the real linchpin is Yuji and maybe even Sukuna himself. I don't think Kenjaku is somebody who would ever not plan for their own death. That just seems like Kenjaku's way. Like, it seems like it's just... Yeah, I'm going to go on a tangent here on this because it actually got me thinking about the fact that Tengen and Kenjaku, they were friends. This spreading Buddhism back in the Nara period, which is even prior to the Heian era. And so Kenjaku must be 1,000+ years old. And really, his entire goal, I think there is a sense of altruism to what Kenjaku's end goal is. Like, he's undeniably evil. He has done horrible things, but he's a very much an ends justify the means approach. Whereas Sukuna is somebody who is just like, my pleasure and displeasure, that is all that exists. There is no major goal. So I think you kind of need both of them up until the end.
Yeah, man, that just makes me really want to see, like, again, we talked about it a bit earlier, a flashback, Kenjaku, Sukuna, because even Angel, Tengen, like, they all, I think, existed, yeah, in 1,000 years, like, in the Nara period. One thing that, like, Kenjaku said, I think it was in chapter 220 or 219, like, obviously, in some way, like, he knew Tengen, he probably had, like, you know, a close connection with Tengen, and then he said something along the lines of, you know, people who are not willing to take risk or are willing to die. I might have to bring up the actual chapter, but he said something about, yeah, like people just being disappointed in a certain type of attitude, and then he says, "I'm talking to you, Tengen." So yeah, like I'm really interested to see, like, just what the exact connection in history is between these guys and really how this all started.
Especially with Sukuna, because Sukuna does mention when he eats his last finger, like, oh, or he eats his own body, which is a Shinbutsu mummy. And I've always had the theory that Sukuna is a Buddhist monk. I think that much is, or at least an equivalent, because Tengen was preaching Buddhism alongside Jujutsu sorcery, so they're kind of intrinsically linked. Even Jujutsu High is built on like a Buddhist temple, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But when he eats his own body and he has a Shinbutsu mummy, he's like, is this supposed to be ironic? And it really seems like Sukuna, whether or not he had a twin, whoever he was initially, like he might. I have seen the theory. Someone says Sukuna is their baby. Honestly, maybe he might be the son of Kenjaku and Tengen, because we know Kenjaku is probably a dude. And we know that Tengen was definitely a girl at one point. And they were pretty close to each other. He says he does call Tengen his friend at the end. Whether or not they were lovers, we don't know for sure. But Sukuna does say, I was an unwanted child. And it is strange to me that Sukuna's corpse is at the base of one of the foundation barriers of all of Jujutsu. So Tengen got their hands on that somehow. Or it was made there.
Damn, I've never heard of that theory, but you know what? It's kind of cooking. Yeah, no, like, man, like, I forgot Kenjaku called Tengen a friend. So I guess, like, the kind of assumption I'm getting with is that, you know, Kenjaku, Tengen, they were at some point friends, and then, you know, like we discussed about earlier, something happened in Kenjaku, just despised Tengen for something in the Nara period, for whatever reason. And like with Tengen being known as like a god, or, you know, someone people prayed, right? Like there was like the Tengen, what's it called? The Star Association Club? I forgot what it's called.
Yeah, the Stars. I know the one you're talking. The Star Association Club, or the. Now I can't remember it.
Yeah, what the hell?
Yeah, the Star Club. The clapping people.
The people who pray to Tengen, think of him as their god. Like, that's been something that's been happening ever since he right? Like created Jujutsu,
Yeah, Tengen
built the
is
foundation
sus.
for it.
I have to say, Tengen. I don't trust Tengen at all, personally.
Well, I think yeah, he is she I guess is definitely sus. But like the way I see it is where okay, he was like teaching jujutsu to many people, and then Sukuna, I think somehow like he was maybe one of the followers of the listeners. But Sukuna did something taboo while he was learning jujutsu, thus why he's like considered the fallen one or the disgraced one.
Yes.
Something along those lines. Like I don't know. That's why I'm just so interested to see a flashback, and I really hope so because like me and Quirkless kind of discussed earlier with JJK ending this year.
Yes.
Like I feel like we've expected to see a flashback sooner before. The fact that it hasn't happened yet,
I
it's like,
still
I'm not
think
gonna lie. I have doubts. I have doubts.
it might not. We might not get the Heian era light novel maybe, but
I'd be down.
we might have the. I'm not entirely convinced JJK is going to end this year. I know Gege Akatame said this before, and they pretty much never stay within their timeline. So maybe early 2025. I mean, some people thought this rate that it was going to end this year, but if it does end next year, it's probably like November, December. And I imagine
Yeah, the
Gege
thing
is
is,
probably going to take fewer breaks towards the end.
like Miyamura, like I think he did the calculations of all the breaks he usually takes plus like natural holiday breaks, saying that we have about I could be wrong, I don't know the exact number. I think it was like 38, 30 something chapters, like high number 30. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, high 30, if it were to end this year, right? I'm thinking, is that enough or am I overestimating the length of chapters, right? Because if it does go into early 2025, then we're gonna have like a bit like 40,
Yeah.
maybe mid 40 chapters, and I think okay, like 40 is kind of like the safe space. I can see a possible ending there because, like you said, flashback, this fight, Kinjaku, the merger, like early 2025. Hey, for us content creators, that'd be great because it's more content to
Yeah.
consume. So yeah, I mean, I hope so.
I think Jujutsu Kaisen is certainly I do like the idea of Jujutsu Kaisen being a concise series because there are some. I saw a post on Twitter at one point where someone said like, look at what Naruto and Bleach accomplished in like 200, like 300 chapters versus what Jujutsu Kaisen did. And like, I think Jujutsu Kaisen's pretty good at getting rid of the fluff. Like when you read JJK, it's like important plot point, important plot point. There's very few filler fights, and when there is one that feels like a filler, it ends with Kinjaku getting his head chopped off.
Yeah, yeah, it is a series that gets like very straight to the point. I don't really think there's any fight that's been considered filler. Like I don't know, like I can
Maybe
like
Charles.
with Naruto. Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. Charles, like you can say like yeah, like that was used to explain Hakari's domain. So there's like kind of that's the thing. That's like
Yeah.
the only filler-ish fight of this series. Like everything else is just very
Man, the Culling games
very
really
important.
had like two of the craziest domains with like a whole court domain and then a pachinko machine gambling ring.
Yeah, man, like, I'm so excited for season 3 to see that like animated. I want to ask you, where do you think like season 3? Because honestly, I don't know if it's like possible, but like, I would hope season 3 ends with the cliffhanger of Sukuna taking over Megami. I'm not sure that's too far, too much chapters, but I feel like that should be the perfect cliffhanger.
That would be a perfect cliffhanger. I mean, let's see. We got through. We did kind of get through like 80 chapters already, didn't we? Actually, yeah, that could definitely happen. If it's as long as this season was, for sure, because JJK season 1 ends at like chapter 50 something. And, or not chapter 50, like chapter 60, like right at the hidden inventory is like 60, 70s. And then I know this all too well that the whole Kenjaku and Yuki conflict talk happens in like chapter 140. So we've just gone through like what 80 chapters probably by the end. And
Yeah,
213 is Megami's return, so that's even fewer.
Oh yeah, man, they could probably do it. Like especially just like they could even extend, which they're obviously they're most likely going to extend fight scenes within the Culling games.
Yep.
So.
Kashimo versus Kari. Maybe they'll extend
Oh,
Kashimo
man.
versus Sakuna.
Hey, yeah.
I took a
No,
hard L on that one. Can't lie.
Did you think like it was gonna
I
be
mean,
much
I
longer?
guess I still love Kashimo. I gassed him quite a bit. I was like, "Oh guys, you'd be hyped for this," and then I made a whole video on it. People were like, "Oh my god, I'm so hyped for this." And I'm like, "Oh, sorry guys, you got one shot. My bad."
Yeah, that's crazy. 'Cause it's like he didn't even really last a chapter. It was like less than a chapter. So it's like,
No,
damn.
I didn't know he was gonna be used to like. I knew he was gonna be used to glaze. I didn't know he was gonna get like super eyes and like super speed just so he could show that Sukuna's him. Like I didn't know they were gonna like. I mean, his technique is really good, but he went full orc brain. He was like, I have to kill. I can't work in a team. Like if he was still there, if he had used his one-time use technique in a group, he probably would have been a lot more useful.
Dude, that's the. It's so funny because like I remember even like yeah you were like definitely around the time when Akari and Kashima were fighting, right? Like in the Culling games.
Yeah, I was
Like
reading that. I wasn't making content at the time.
okay. So yeah, like a lot of people like when Kashima said he wanted to fight Sukuna, I don't know, like a lot of people were joking about the fact that imagine like Kashima's one single use curse technique, like Sukuna just like takes care of it very very easily, and it's like yeah man, like in the future that happens.
Yeah, it did feel like. I mean, I hear the words one UCT, and I immediately think Might Guy. I mean, I always thought he was going to die. It wasn't like something like the mortality of Kashima was always known to me, but him getting one shot, I didn't expect a waffle maker. Okay, I didn't expect a giant waffle grid to just come over and they'll just eliminate him.
Wait, hold on, I'm getting another phone call. I'm just gonna quickly mute and unmute.
No problem. If Gojo is dead, what happens to the power level shift? Will cursed spirits get weak, and who will get Gojo's abilities? Well, a lot of the characters are very strong right now, on top of the fact that we're probably in the end game of cursed energy as a concept. And who will get Gojo's abilities? Probably just another Gojo family member. The Six Eyes are reincarnated effectively. Or it might be the end of them, If cursed energy goes away, I'm not sure if we'll see something like the Six Eyes again. The Six Eyes are a cool concept. They aren't necessarily explained as much as I wish they were. But especially now, because we're probably not going to get much more on the Six Eyes again. They are a fan favorite ability, so people really want to see more of them. But I think they really are done with Gojo, at least for the viewer's perspective. That's my take on that. Kusakabe is the strongest. Yeah, I agree. Kusakabe is the strongest. I do love Kusakabe. He's definitely...
Sorry, go ahead.
What's up?
No, you can just finish your point and then I'll say it.
I think Kusakabe is a great character because he knows his place as like this guy that he's like, okay, my use is best. I'm best used in the back to formulate plans because I'm not a Gojo. I'm not a Sukuna. I know this. I'll go up when you need me as like a support, but I'm best in the back. And I like characters like that.
When you put it that way, like yeah, no, like Kusakabe is becoming really likable to me, especially when you put it that way. Like he's the guy who, again, not like Gojo, not like Sukuna, can just formulate plans at the back. Unfortunately, I am really sorry. My family forgot the hotel keys. I have to go give it to them. I guess I mean, I might have to leave. You could obviously still see the stream if you'd like to. But yeah, first of all, again, Quirkless, thank you so much for inviting me to the stream.
No problem, man.
I did ask Quirkless if he wanted to do like maybe video collabs for my channel, maybe in the future.
Oh yeah, dude. Sure.
Obviously after this holidays. So yeah, guys, you can expect potentially me and Quirkless videos doing collabs more often. Like I said, really appreciate you inviting me. And chat, everyone have a good day.
Also, there will be that live stream in 2 days, I think, on Zonen's channel. If you're still going to that.
I forgot about that.
So we will also be there, yeah, if that's still happening.
I don't know even if I'm free that day. You just reminded me. All right,
I know.
Great. I'm going to now ask my parents. Everyone have a good day. Later, Quirkless.
All right, dude, take it easy. All right, everybody, we're going to keep going for a bit. So let's answer some. We're going to go for another 15 minutes. Let's answer some chat questions. You have my full attention. Let's take a look. I hope Curse Energy continues and the cycle remains. Man, you want curses to fight forever? That's pretty. It's a pretty dark future. Also, to those of you who don't know Fakeweeb's channel, A link is in the description. He's an excellent JJK YouTuber, one that I watched even before I made content. So I take a look. If you're all one of you. Where am I go, Toto? That is an excellent question. Toto is a character that we haven't really had an opportunity to see since Shibuya, and he really is important to Yuji's development, but maybe currently with the state of JJK as like a darker series overall, having Toto come back, he is kind of a goofy character, and him just showing up out of nowhere, it might throw off the tone a little bit. At least that's the conversation I've seen going around. Now that I'm alone, have I kept up with One Punch Man? I do read it. I do still read One Punch Man, for sure. It is definitely cooking. I'm really waiting for an overall Genos power-up, though, because Genos has always been my favorite. He was actually one I was considering power scaling for this channel at some point. Any Sukuna's last finger theories? I think the last finger is Yuji. Yuji himself, because Yuji really, like, there's something linking Sukuna to Yuji, and Yuji himself is like a cursed object. And I doubt that Gojo was keeping it on him if he's chopped in half. Okay, let's see. How do you feel about the Gojo versus Sukuna fight after some time has passed? I like it. Overall, I do. I do wish we got to see Four-Arm Sukuna fight Gojo, because if you're going to have, it's like the one opportunity we get to see that, and I think that's what a lot of people wanted. I think they're very different characters in the fact that Sukuna does he feels ancient. He just does. Like, he feels intrinsically ancient, and everything about Sukuna feels like it's just from 1,000 years ago, and Gojo is the modern day. He's hip, he's got the cool-looking blindfold and constantly wearing cool outfits. So I think there's an interesting contrast there that we kind of missed. Do you feel like Megumi's character arc is basically completed? I feel like everything set up for him has already paid off. No, I think Megumi, first of all, he has to learn about his dad. And Megumi as a character, I mean, he and Yuji, they are the two most important characters for our emotional conflict. And seeing them come back, like, I am pretty stalwart on this that I think Megumi is coming back. And they've shown us him multiple times. I don't know how he's coming back, but it's kind of their whole plan. Okay. Let's see. Do you think whatever Kenjaku has planned will happen at the same time as Sukuna's demise? Maybe not the same time. I don't think Sukuna's going to die here, is the main thing. I think they will get Megumi out of him in some shape or form. But I think we know that Kenjaku's overall plan is with Yuji and Sukuna to begin with. All right. Four-Arm Sukuna would probably lose against Gojo. Airport Glades aside, Four-Arm Sukuna can't cut through infinity. Yeah, but Four-Arm Sukuna, I mean, we don't even know what his curse technique is. And Gojo was already seconds from losing the domain battle on his own against a guy who wasn't even able to use his domain amplification. I mean, we can go into it a lot more. But there are certainly ways that Four-Arm Sukuna and even current Sukuna, Maguna, could have won. Megumi has been cursed by fate. Only suffering awaits Megumi. That might be true in some ways. But I do think people do put... Like, his father is the Fate Breaker, Toji Fushiguro, a man with no curse energy. And Toji really did, on his last moments, just like make a last... First of all, he broke Gojo's fate, and then he broke Megumi's fate by proxy and kept him away from the Zenin family. And I think there is going to be a bigger payoff to that later. Do I have any insane Nobara return theories? I don't. I have never been a Nobara's aliver, personally. That's just never been my shtick. The theory of Tengen being related to Sukuna would be crazy, because Kenjaku brought up how she evolved to look like him. Yeah, it is weird. There isn't a lot of evidence to support that they are family members other than just headcanon, but I think it would be kind of an interesting dynamic between the three of them. What will Gojo rank in the Heian era? Oh, number 2. Number 2 for sure. Undeniably. Like, Gojo is strong everywhere. He's not just strong now. And I want to talk about this in general, that we have characters like, let me pull them up on the screen. We have characters like Hikari, and Hikari himself, his RCT, this guy's RCT is top 1. It's top 1. It is top of the top. Characters like Yuta and Hikari, they are strong in the Heian era. The Heian era simply has more Hikaris than Yutas. That's what the main takeaway is, I think. Like, it's the golden age. You have fewer Momos, more Hikaris. What do you think will be left for Yuji after the final climax? I don't think Yuji gets a happy ending. I mean, he might get a happy ending, like a bittersweet one. But Yuji as a character, I do feel like he might be a reincarnation or something, so him staying around forever maybe not be the only option. Megumi is returning for sure. Yeah, I agree. Megumi is definitely returning. Like, I argue with people on this all the time that Megumi's coming back. And I know some people really think he's dead. They're like, oh, he obliterated his body. But, I mean, Megumi really is more important than people give him credit for. He is the second most important character in the story. Maybe not, like, to overall plot, but as far as emotional conflict is concerned. Like, he's Gojo's prodigy. He's effectively Gojo's stepson or younger brother. How do you think Megumi will be saved? Honestly, I've kind of refrained from making a whole video on how he will be saved because the applications behind pulling somebody's soul out are just unknown to us. Like, we've never had a situation like this where somebody's been stuck in someone else's body. I mean, except for Sukuna, but, it's a little bit different. I think Maki will be the one to give the killing blow to Sukuna, since she is still hiding. Maybe not the killing blow, but I do think she'll do a sneak attack. Alright, I will go on for 5 more minutes here because we are getting a little late. If anybody has any pressing questions, do ask now. CT Kashimo dog walks Yuta. I mean, you didn't hear it from me, but, I'm not going to disagree. Translations in the anime are wild. Yeah, in the dub, too, they had Toji say, my cursed spirit, I named my cursed spirit Megumi. I'm like, what is going on? The finger can be given to Rika to maybe regain JJK0 power. Yeah, I don't think Yuta is that dramatically important to current JJK. I mean, I think he is certainly strong. Obviously, he is still a powerhouse. But Yuta being like his main takeaway, his mainstay in JJK, I think it's mostly over. Like, he's gonna have his cool moment if he does fight Sukuna. But he's not going to have a true Himothy moment. At least not in my opinion. Just got off work, but how does Sukuna bypass Infinity in the Heian era? I mean, Sukuna's domain alone. Gojo was already full outputting RCT to survive that. Alongside the fact that domain amplification was not even usable half the time in the domain. And he was still simultaneously collapsing. Like, I mean, Unlimited Void is certainly a win con. I will not say there is no way for Gojo to win against a Heian Sukuna, but a Heian era Sukuna is an objectively superior body to the one we saw with Maguna. Do you reckon Yuji is special grade 1 or just special grade right now? I mean, yeah, I think Yuji's special grade right now. I think special grade's a bad title for characters in general. Like, I think special grade is so overhyped. Like, the only, like... And mainly because Gojo's a special grade, and Gojo is so much stronger than the other special grades we saw, at least up until, like, right now. And like Gojo really does kind of put into perspective, like, I mean, not only is he kind of a wank character, but he's also just so much stronger than the other special grades we saw, and he even taught them. But if you look at Principal Yaga, like, I'm just saying, I don't care how many pandas you throw at Yuji, they're getting wiped. Any clue on what Yuji's new techniques are? The only one I would 100% say to be true is blood manipulation. Blood manipulation, I think, is undeniably going to be one of the techniques that we see Yuji use. We need low, mid, and high tier special grade. True. Absolutely true. Because I really think special grade is just such a worthless title currently. Like, are we really going to say that Yuta, Gojo, and Sukuna are all an equal tier? I don't think so. Is Kenjaku alone just his brain and potentially a piece of multiple Kenjakus spread around like Sukuna's fingers? Oh my god, multiple spreading brains in a jar? That just kind of sounds like cyberpunk. Got your brain on the net, you got all the engrams. I think people get a multiple strike Divergent Fist. I do think Divergent Fist will come back into play, especially when they get into a fist fight, but I think the Black Flash is I think the Black Flash is like the big kicker here, because right now a Yuji Black Flash is probably hitting wild. How do you think Hikari versus Urame will end? I think Hikari RCT will overwhelm Urame, but he would get bodied by the likes of Sukuna. I'm kind of in agreement with you here. I think Hikari's reinforcement is probably higher. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Hikari can tank a Malevolent Shrine just as well as Gojo can. And it's not to say that Gojo's reinforcement is, his RCT is bad, because obviously not. A full output of his RCT was able to survive an MS. But Hikari is just like, his whole shtick is healing. That's his best thing. And Gojo's best thing was his Infinity and his way to utilize blue. And the Hollow Purple. Do I like sports? If so, which one? That's a good question. I do like some sports. I used to play, really the only sport I actually keep up with on any level is probably bodybuilding. I do pay attention to like some of Chris Bumstead's stuff, but that's about it. I've never been a hugely into competitive sports. Outside of that. Do you think Yuta would ever lose? I like that he's cool and all. If I feel like him always winning makes me less inclined to watch him fight going forward. Well, when Yuta loses, it probably means that Yuta dies. So that's the thing. All right, guys. One more question, and I'm going to wrap up here. If anybody has one, that is. Do you think Sukuna would... I'll answer both of these. Do you think Sukuna could have piled up damage on Gojo before his RCT could heal him? Had he used Fire Arrows plus Cleave and Dismantle, sure hit, plus the Kabutoke Strike? Yeah, I certainly think when Gojo had no Infinity, Sukuna had more options, but he was still limiting himself to the overall plan of adaptation. Because we know that once the wheel is exposed to something, it just goes on. It starts. The adaptation begins, and he was trying to get as much time as possible, no matter what. Does Sukuna's Space Dismantle cross distance or not? Because it looks like it just divided Gojo. But when Maho fired it, or when he chanted versus Kashimo, it didn't. I think it does just go out. It looks pretty instantaneous. Like, it just cuts that part of the space. And we even see behind Maharaga. And here, since this is the last question, let me pull up a photo of it if I can find it. I even have one. Well, just pretend there's a photo there. Yeah, the space dismantle, we do see it hit behind Gojo on the building as well. It kind of looks like it just hit at the same moment. Like it was just an instantaneous strike because he's like pre-targeting. And he even says in the dialogue that, okay, you know, I'm not sending out slashes like I usually do. I pre-target the destination. Or something like that. Let me just double check. Yes, he says the second adaptation was exactly what I had been anticipating, but it wasn't sending slashes flying as I do. It was expanding the technique's target. So it sounds from that information that the technique itself is simply reaching out instantaneously instead of a flying slash. But we are going to wrap up there, guys. And thank you for all coming. Thank you for showing up for Fakeweeb. And again, if you haven't seen Fakeweeb's channel, check him out. Incredible YouTuber. I will be on a live stream on Zonen's channel on the 18th. So look forward to that. There should be Diavolo there as well. And Fakeweeb if he's available. So take it easy, guys. I will be making a video next week on the spoiler reviews as usual. And I'll probably be streaming more from now on, so look forward to that too.